I united India in 1444 in Europa Universalis IV. Now, since there isn't an exact India tag, we decided to go with the Hindu variant of Bharat because Hindu doesn't get enough love in the game, and I want to make sure it gets some screen time. They're going to start off with a massive amount of development, and I gave them a modifier to allow their governing capacity to not cause them to collapse instantly because that would go against the spirit of the video. Now, the question is, will anyone rise to contest this massive behemoth in South Asia, or will they run a rampage across the entire continent? Well, let's watch and find out. Also, if you guys do not know, patrons get early access to every video that comes out on the channel, so check that out, link in the description if you'd like to support. And while you're down there, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more content to come. And as the intro said, this time around, we're checking out what would look like if India is united. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and go speed 5 and unpause. Now, of course, since this is completely irrelevant, we're going to get rid of the natives this time around, mostly just for performance issues. Actually, exclusively for performance issues. Don't get it twisted. Bharat does have a unique mission tree, and it actually looks kind of cool. I've never really messed around with them. I did do a, May War Never Changes into Rajputana, into Bharat, into Sun Never Sets on the Indian Empire or whatever, run on my other channel, Chewy Shoot, which you should check out if you haven't already. But it appears that they are currently going in to beat up on the Bengalis, who somebody's got to do it. And even in this timeline with India United, there's a Bengal that is looking to start some trouble, but it doesn't look like they're going to be doing any of that today.
Look how they massacred my boy.
And I think we're starting to see a trend here. Bharat just attacked into Nepal, took literally like all the lands up there, and now they're pushing into the Timurids, helping their subjects gain their independence. I think they're probably going to be taking something for themselves in this one. And I forgot to show it right before I unpaused, but they had about 1900 development before we unpaused, putting them well in the first place. They also have an army force limit of 143,000 men, a ship force limit of 45 ships, with 7 heavies and 3 more to go, a total of 10. Safe to say they're going to be the naval dominant power in the area. And a little over 70 years in, Bharat has gained over 400 development, looking very solid. Ottomans are gaining on them though, and it looks like Ming has also gained a bit of development, but for the time being, it's mostly going to be Bharat Castile, though it looks like they've either got the Iberian wedding and or have begun colonizing. We'll take a look at that. But the Ottomans, man, the Ottomans are being Ottomans over here, getting lots of land all the way down into Mesopotamia, which is crazy for how early this is. And they're also all the way up into Transylvania and Hungary. So yeah, they're having a good game so far. Also having a good game, England, uniting the entirety of Britain and most of Ireland, as well as a good portion of southern France. France is doing okay, but Castile is into the Low Countries as well. Looks like they may have even gotten the Iberian wedding. Looks like they may have even gotten the Burgundian inheritance, but I'm not 100% on that. Norway and Denmark having a little bit of a tussle. Looks like Norway may have gotten independence, but we'll take a look. Not having independence, though, is Lithuania, with quite a bit of development going to Poland over here in the east, as well as up in the north of Poland. Naples is making their push both across the Adriatic, but also into northern Italy, and then Aragon pushing into Provence. So tons of border changes that you normally don't expect to see. We also have a united Bavaria and a Venice that has most of the Po Valley and Milan. Of course, the big Russian bear having a good game all the way up into Kola, past Perm, and down into the Tartary steppes. So only a matter of time before they form Russia and let that relentless push east begin. Japan making a very good push towards uniting, though that Usugi up there in the north looks like they're giving Ashikaga a run for their money. And Korea has Hokkaido as well as a good portion of Manchuria. So that's pretty sweet. Meanwhile, Ming has annexed a large portion of Mongolia all the way up into Oirat. Oirat must have messed around and found out. And then, of course, we have Bharat looking pretty good. They've conquered a large portion of the development in Burma, which also has a lot of trade, so you got to remember that. Tibet is also mostly united under their banner, though they're not really converting much of what they got going on. But there is a Sikh province over here. How cool would that be? But 1517, still no Reformation, which is crazy, actually. I feel like this is like 20 years late. We have the Portuguese down here in Buenos Aires, as well as over in Peru / northern Chile. I don't want to call it Peru. We have Castilian Brazil over here with Castilian Brazil over here. And we have the English have landed over here by this alligator in the Orochinho Delta or whatever that's pronounced. The Caribbean is Portuguese. We have a Castilian province down here in Nicaragua or whatever that is. But up here in Texas, we also have Castilian Rio Grande. So looks like a colonial nation is going to pop out soon, and we're going to see a colonial Mexico. Meanwhile, we have the 13 colonies here with quite a bit more to go, and that is looking pretty good. And yes, we have colonial Norway up in Newfoundland, which I always think is really sweet to see. And of course, yes, they did get the Iberian wedding, though it looks like Aragon is actually a little disloyal, so we'll see how Castile handles that. And of course, better late than never, 1589, we do have the Reformation, mostly Protestant in the north with some Reformed here and there in the south, and Anglican over on the British Isles. And likewise, the colonial game continues to expand with Vinland making an appearance as well as Newfoundland, and now we have a Spanish Canada as well as Florida, Spanish Louisiana, and New Spain. The rest are all growing. We also have a new Denmark over there down in, South Carolina. So, yeah, it is growing. We also have a Spanish California, so insert jokes about left coast in there.
No! God, please, no!
We have French Columbia, British Columbia, and more British Columbia. But if you look up to the north, we have the British Caribbean as well as the Caribbean. But my boys, the Muisca, hanging on, still got those 3 provinces around Bogota. Spanish Brazil is thriving as well as Rio de Prata. Portuguese Peru, and Rio de Prata over here with their little exclave over by Peru. The Portuguese are in the Cape of Good Hope, and oh my gosh, how about that Kilwa? Which would be pretty cool until you look up north and you see, look at the Somalia, man. It just keeps getting better for me. Ottomans doing quite well still all the way over into Cyrenaica, or whatever that place is called, all the way over to Hormuz and Bahrain, and also currently dominating the crap out of the Commonwealth with land all the way up into central Russia. Russia, of which is getting destroyed because they've been split in half, and their capital isn't even in Russia. They're dead. Their capital is actually in this Beloyarski or whatever in the middle of nowhere on the other side of the Urals. So yeah, Russia not having a good game. But aside from them getting dominated, Commonwealth is having a very good game. But this is probably the beginning of the end, if I had to guess. The Ottomans laying the smackdown on you like this is not something you come back from easily. Meanwhile, in the west, Spain has formed, is actually eating up some of Portugal's mainland land, as well as a little bit of land in Italy, competing with Naples and Venice. So a bunch of interesting stuff going on over here in Europe because, of course, we're not focused on Europe this time around, right? Look at this long Gazakmuk, big, long Gazakmuk. What we are focused on this time around is Bharat, who is well into Southeast Asia because they are basically unchecked over here. Ming has collapsed. Shun and Wu are the major guys in the area. But yeah, Ming is also getting outcompeted even by Korea. So yeah, Bharat looking extremely strong. Of course, strong enough to remain in the #1 spot. Well, technically they're behind the Ottomans, but they're actually way ahead of the Ottomans. They just need to embrace institution. Number 3 is Spain with Great Britain and the Commonwealth, but probably not for long, followed by France, Venice, and Portugal. And in 1700, the Commonwealth has formed and is looking okay, a little bit regressed from where they were at their peak, but still not terrible. And then you take a look over to the south here, and yeah, you can't really be too surprised. It is the Ottomans after all.
That's quite big.
Trying to revive that peak Abbasid and then some, the Ottomans ranging all the way from Morocco into Russia, all the way into India. Legendary. And speaking of legendary, how about that Spain, and specifically Spanish Low Countries and Spanish Italy? Pretty impressive. Great Britain also formed and has a few little exclaves over there on Denmark as well as in Normandy and then the lowlands. Though I think we still got a root for little Gotland here, the land of the goats. They're trying to hold on, and they seem to be just kind of holding still. They say, if I don't move, maybe I can survive. Gazakmuk is absolutely massive, right next to an absolutely massive Bashkiria. Pretty interesting. Transoxiana has migrated all the way from here up into the steppes, and Shun is absolutely bussin', as the kids say, with a Ning over here, and Bharat that is all the way into Java, most of China. But you guys are going to see it. They've lost some land to the Ottomans, so I think we know who's going to win this late game battle. The coasts are being colonized. We have the British as well as the French, but the Timbuktu has actually migrated out because the Portuguese have pushed them out of Timbuktu. Kilwa and Somalia continuing to just hold on as the Ottomans push south as the Portuguese push north. But how about that Cabo da Boa Esperança, or however that's pronounced, the Cape of Good Hope here, the capital of the Portuguese Empire. We have Portuguese Australia with Portuguese Australia right next to Swedish Perth. Apparently, the Swedes went a little bit colonial this time around. And speaking of colonial, South America, absolutely messy. It looks like the Portuguese have lost a lot of their colonies, specifically to the British. We have the Pirates of Tortuga. Very cool. And the British have taken over a little bit of Cuba, but for the most part, the Portuguese continue to control the Caribbean, though the Mexicans are certainly under the new management of New Spain, as well as Spanish Louisiana, Spanish California. You guys are going to pick up on a bit of a pattern here. The 13 colonies over here had to claim Ohio, sadly for them. Newfoundland, however, decided to claim Michigan, including the UP, as well as parts of Wisconsin and Minnesota. And then, of course, we have Vinland over here, a Swedish colony. Very cool. Hilariously, though, Greenland is not colonized. Nobody wanted it. And with 100 years left, Bharat just holding on for dear life to that #1 spot, with Spain actually surpassing the Ottomans with their colonial empire for #2. Great Britain, Commonwealth, Shun actually in the 6th spot, and 7th place is Gazik-Mook, which is almost as impressive as Saxony in the 8th place. So a couple of really interesting things that we've seen pop up this time around. And damn, in 1821, it doesn't look like the Ottomans managed to hold on to that dominance that they had for so long. They lost land to Spain, to the Commonwealth, to Gazik-Mook even, releasing tags all over the place like Armenia, Syria, Oman down here. Even our old friend Ethiopia decided to make an appearance. Meanwhile, Bharat ended up dominating, safe to say. They didn't have anybody near them after the Ottomans decided to take a dump on themselves. And yeah, they dominated literally everything in Asia. But Japan united, which is pretty cool, and they have basically all of the Japanese islands. I don't know if this like Sakhalin is Russian or Japanese or both, but I do know that this island chain is Japanese, so they don't have that one. But regardless, Bharat managed to take almost the entirety of Indonesia and the Spice Islands, leaving only a couple of provinces to Spain, who decided that they were going to choose violence this time around as well. Portuguese Australia got absolutely gutted. We have Portuguese Australia, we have Terra Austral, we still have Scandinavian Australia over here, but we also have Australia, which is British Australia. But South America is a much different story. It looks like the British actually took basically all of the Portuguese colonies, and in the north, it's basically the same as that it was last time we looked. Nothing really has changed that I can tell at all, except for Greenland. Greenland is now a beautiful deep red. But yeah, the fall of the Ottomans led to some rise of some other nations like the Commonwealth, like a phoenix from the ashes, but we do have a united Germany formed by none other than Saxony, though they definitely have some competition between Great Britain and a massive Spanish Empire knocking at their doorstep. Though I see you, Croatia. I see you, baby. And that is a very cool uniform and a very, very cool hat. Also, Hamburg is a one-province minor, not in Hamburg, but in this Stade, or however that province is pronounced. So yeah, that's kind of funny. And you guys know about Ottoman Russia, right? The Spanish made a bit of a push into Kilwa. I hate to say it because Kilwa was absolutely massive for a very long time. But yeah, sadly, they're not doing too well. Also, Somalia is a one-province minor over here in Mogadishu. And doesn't that hat look like it's his hair or something? I wonder if it is his hair. I don't know. Either way, that's a cool hat. I would wear that. We have Air, and Air, the nation so nice that they named it thrice, right next to Ottoman Niger Bend, right next to a very big British Niger, because Britain decided that the Sahel was theirs. It's all theirs, as is the Guinea as well. Religion-wise, it looks pretty consistent with what it looked like last time we really checked. We've got Protestants in the north as well as in Germany, Anglicans in all of the British territories. The rest is for the most part Catholic, but it does look like a bit of the land over in the Balkans has been converted. And Africa is just really a mess. It looks like even though most of the land is owned by another nation, it doesn't follow the religion of the country here. Though this looks pretty cool. We've got Hindus all the way from the tip of Sri Lanka all the way to Korea and northern China, Mongolia region. So that's pretty cool. I feel like you don't see a lot of Hindu conversions, and I like it. I think it looks good. It's a nice map color. South America is an absolute massacre, a travesty of a religious map mode. We've got Anglicans and Anglicans with Inti and Catholics that are an occupied peoples, but Brazil is all Catholic. North America, since it was colonized by the Spanish, is a whole different story. It is almost exclusively Catholic with a couple of Nahuatl and Mayan provinces with some Anglican, Protestants, and whatnot over here. But for the most part, it's all Catholic. Culture-wise, looks pretty good. The Flemish pushed all the way up to one of my favorite provinces in the game, Chartres, right next to Valois, or however that's pronounced. But yeah, the culture conversions definitely happened, especially over in northern France. Venetians pushed just a tiny bit up here into Austria, and Andalusians spread a bit into North Africa, as well as the New World for that matter, with Platinian and Brazilians switching places again, which I always think is funny. Mexican and Castilian making up the majority of the development here in America, and Mexican making up the majority of the development here in Canada, which if you don't know, most Canadians live like kind of in this vicinity, and then a few more live kind of like out here, like Calgary's up here, I believe, in Vancouver, like British Columbia. But for the most part, I'm pretty sure most of like the development in Canada is like in this general vicinity in Quebec and then Ontario. Regardless, we have lots of English and some Americans over here, as well as, of course, British Columbia, our English nation over there. South Africa is almost exclusively Portuguese, as is Australia and all of the different various breakaway nations, though we can't forget about the Swedes over here. And how about that Wu in China? Looks like there was a bit of intolerance going on between the various nation states and the various peoples of China, and now most of them are Wu. And Rajasthani, very much a culture conversion of lots of the stuff over here, and that is pretty good. I don't know if much of this other stuff was converted. Bengali is definitely a different one over here, all the way into Burma. So yeah, safe to say some people were converted. I definitely think there was some Lithuanian conversions as well, but maybe not as much. Poland pushing well into modern day Germany, though I'm pretty sure that Stettin is Polish. Pretty sure it's actually pronounced like this. It's like Szczecin or something like that. Very, very strange. One of my modder buddies is from there, which you should join my Discord. We have fun over there. The time lapse is always broken whenever you unite people with the consoles. But either way, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you let me know. Leave a like on the video and subscribe for more. If you want early access, you can get it if you check out my Patreon, linked in the description. Join my Discord, my Twitter, my subreddit. Those things are all linked in the description, as I mentioned before. And I hope that you guys all are having a wonderful day. I hope you continue to have a wonderful day. I'm wishing you the best, and until next time, stay chill.